Hey, it's CVV, Chris Van Vliet, and you have to check out the fastest rising podcast in all of professional wrestling. I'm talking about the Crash and Burn Wrestling Podcast. If you're looking for pay-per-view predictions, if you're looking for pay-per-view reviews, if you're looking for interviews, check out the Crash and Burn Wrestling Podcast.
Crash and Burn!
Hey everybody, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this, whatever time you're watching this. Welcome to another episode of Crash and Burn, where we are back with fantasy booking. We haven't done this in a while, so basically for fantasy booking, we basically act like the general managers, booking our own shows and stuff, and however way we want it. So before we get to the episode, I'm not gonna make this intro long like what I do for the Moshcast. So yeah, Luke, just come on in.
Yes, I'm sitting down. Surprisingly, actually, I'm sitting down on my throne, I'll say. So, yeah, let's just get into this.
Wyatt, come on in.
Yes, what's up, everyone? Wyatt here, the co-owner of this podcast, the person who invented this fantasy booking on this podcast. Yes, we're back to fantasy booking. I know it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm sure everyone is probably having a barbecue, spending their time with their friends and family. Honor the ones who served for the United States of America.
Yeah, and our return for Double or Nothing tomorrow.
Double or Nothing's tomorrow. Yeah, so pretty much hopefully everyone's enjoying this holiday weekend. And also next week, I got a big opportunity as myself, as I will be continuing my journey and my career for professional wrestling, as I will be volunteering for a professional wrestling show, which is next weekend. So good stuff. And thankfully, I'm having new people come into my life, and a lot of friendships are getting built. And thankfully, the wrestling business has actually worked for me. And thankfully, I still have an opportunity to do this podcast. So, yeah, but to today's topic, let's go around here, discuss what brands we are discussing. For me, once again, I am going to be doing Monday Night Raw. We're going to get Monday Night Raws headed out of their own ass and get this shit underway. And Lucas, what brand are you doing?
I'm going to do NXT.
NXT? I'll be doing Smackdown.
Okay.
So anyways, let's start with the signings. Let's share our signings. So my signings for SmackDown, I have the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. I'm keeping him on the brand. I have the Brothers of Destruction, The Undertaker and Kane. Of course, I need to have them. You all know I love this game, Minecraft. I have the main character, Steven Alex. I have Big Van Vader. And since I love Star Wars, I had to put my favorite character in there, Luke Skywalker.
Cool.
Rhea Ripley, I have Viking Raiders, Nia Jax, Naomi, King Kong Bundy. I love Harry Potter as well, so I have to sign the man himself, Harry Potter. I also have Lindsay Dorado, Nikki Cross, and Drew Gulak. Wyatt.
Okay, so to Monday Night Raw, I got finally coming to the main roster. I got Toni Storm, and she's going to start her own faction. I got back to the main roster, Drake Maverick. Traded to Monday Night Raw, I have the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Ruby Riot. Signed and also traded to Monday Night Raw, were Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Also traded to Raw, Bianca Bella. I got the Hurricane back on TV, back in the ring, and signed to Monday Night Raw, coming from MCW Pro Wrestling, the Cartel, which is Dante Caparello, Angel Alvarado, Bull Samuels, Lord Diaz, Diego Cruz, and Zelina. And with them, they have Zelina Vega. And also signed to Monday Night Raw, you've got the best tag team in indie wrestling history, which is Chuck Lennox and my coach Drawlix, Black Wall Street.
All right, so Mr. Atencio, Lucas.
All right, so for me, I got Frankie Monet, aka Al Backward. I got the craziest motherfucker alive, New Jack. Got my boy Stevie Richards, Loki, Davey Richards, Austin Aries, this man. Yes, I'm talking about the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. We got one of the greatest tag teams in WCW history, the Steiners. We got another thing in WCW, Vampiro is going to make an appearance in here. We got EC3. I'm going to call him Eli Drake. I know he's LA Knight right now, but Eli Drake. Just why not? We're going to bring the Morrison machine.
LA Knight.
We got my boy Buddy Murphy, thanks to Wyatt over here. No, it was Jason.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have also there's Tozawa. I'm going to have Dakota thanks to Wyatt. I also know because of Wyatt, because of Roto and Ricochet. And another guy inside the sign, let's just say he is, let's just say, instant classic, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It has to be him. Fuck you, ad, damn it. But you know what I mean. I got my boy. You know who it is.
All right.
Instant classic Christian Cage. Yes.
There you go.
Cage from AEW. Just why not? And that is all my signings.
So now for the releases. Release from Friday Night SmackDown is Slapjack, Chad Gable, and Murphy. Wyatt.
Everyone I released and traded. I have Akira Tozawa sent to NXT. Cedric Alexander sent to NXT. Drew Gulak sent to SmackDown. Viking Raiders sent to SmackDown. Lince Dorado sent to SmackDown. Naomi Nia Jackson, Nikki Cross sent to SmackDown. Humberto Carrillo sent to NXT. T-Bar sent to NXT. Ricochet sent to NXT. And Rhea Ripley sent to SmackDown.
Lucas?
So you made a surprise release. I just can't handle these guys anymore. We got Breezango because they tried to touch me a lot and I got violated. Austin Fury, didn't see much of him, so we gotta take Austin Fury out here. Got Trip Maverick again. They have Velveteen Dream and Velvet Sky. We just, she's a legendary thing, so we gotta let her do her own things. If Velvet Sky's gonna go somewhere, I don't know where she gonna go, but yeah.
Okay, so my broadcast team, the commentators, I'm keeping them the same. Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, ring announcer, Greg Hamilton, backstage interviewer, Kayla Braxton. Lucas, who's your broadcast team?
I was gonna say Greg. Okay, so you know what? My ring announcer is Justin Roberts. I'm gonna steal him actually. So thank you very much. My commentary team still the same. I'm gonna be in there some, but I'll be wrestling some. So yeah, and this kind of thing. And also we're gonna have my interviewer, Kyle Kelly. Keeping all the same basically as last time, except for the interviewer. Whatever.
All right. Wyatt, who's your broadcast team?
My broadcast team, I have Monday Night Raw. I'm going to go with Jared the King Lawler, the newest Raw commentator who's making his debut this Monday. Forget his name. And,
Jimmy Smith?
Corey Graves. Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves.
Yep. Okay, so for my... Oh, wait. So who's your ring announcer and backstage interviewer?
My backstage interviewer is Kayla Braxton, and my ring announcer is who is that one ring announcer in TNA?
I don't know. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, he's looking it up.
All right. Okay, I got these two done. I guess I got this. Where if I had one at? Shit. Oh, there it is. I'm stupid. Oh, fuck me.
So Wyatt, you found the result for it? The ring announcer?
Is it Mike Rome?
Ring announcer.
Mike Rome was
I'm
the
gonna
announcer
make
for
Tony
Raw.
Chimo my ring announcer.
Tony
Fuck it.
Chimmel. Anyways, rivalries. My rivalries for SmackDown: Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker for the Universal title. Rhea Ripley versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's title. Viking Raiders versus Minecraft Steven Alex for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. King Kong Buddy versus Apollo Crews for the IC title. Big Van Vader versus Harry Potter in an exploding barbed wire death match. Wyatt, who's your rivalries? And let's see the rivalries before we get to the storylines. Because I know the storylines are the long part.
Is he there?
Alright, are we doing our rivalries?
Yeah, can you state the rivalries and not go into storylines yet?
Okay. Alright, the rivalries for the WWE Championship. You got the current champion, Bobby Lashley, taking on the charismatic Enigma, Jeff Hardy. You've got the rated R superstar Edge battling the Fiend. Brock Lesnar will be battling Randy Orton in a huge knockout brawl. Bianca Bella will be defending her Raw Women's title against Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Black Wall Street will be taking on the Mysterios, which the Mysterios are the current tag team champions.
Mm-hmm.
Riddle will be taking on The Miz. R-Truth will be taking on Mustafa Ali. Sheamus will be taking on Keith Lee and Jinder Mahal for the U.S. Championship. The Hurricane will be battling Angel Garza. Drew McIntyre will be taking on the newest rising star of Monday Night Raw, Riddick Moss. And AJ Styles will be battling Damien Priest.
Oh, that's actually nice.
Okay, so Lucas, what is your rivalries?
Rivalries. All right. So, what we got? I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna go Ricochet and Rob Van Dam versus MSK. I'm gonna go a little bit of horror movie rematch. Freddy Krueger versus Jason Voorhees.
Ooh.
We're gonna go Nexus versus NWO in a War Games match. Again, that storyline. We got Vampiro versus Gangrel in a first blood match. We're gonna have Legado del Fantasma versus LAX in the street fight for the titles. We're gonna have Indy Hartwell versus Candice LeRae in no holds barred match. We're gonna have Carrie Ray versus Tegan Knox. Our current champion for NXT, Rosemary versus Shotzi Blackheart in a casket match. We're going to have a death match. New Jack versus Wwe Ray. We're going to have Dakota Kai versus All Crash and Burn member Ryleigh.
Okay.
We're going to have Raquel Gonzalez versus China. For the North American Championship, we're going to have Pete Dunne versus Terry Funk. I think that would be very interesting, and that will be a Extreme Rules match. We're going to have Adam Cole, baby, versus Samoa Joe. And for the NXT Championship, we have CM Punk, my current champion, versus Sami Callihan, the motherfucker, in an Extreme Rules match.
Okay. So now let's get to the long part, which is the storyline. So I will talk about my storylines, and after my storylines, that ends off my part of the fantasy booking. So, storylines, starting off with the Universal title match. The Undertaker is going to win the Universal title at WrestleMania and retains the title at Backlash against Roman Reigns in a rematch. And then the will lose it at Extreme Rules against Drew Gulak. So Drew Gulak will be the Universal Champion by then. Time for the SmackDown Women's Championship match. So Rhea Ripley is going to retain at Mania and lose and will lose the title to Sasha Banks in the rematch at Backlash. Sasha will then go on to have promos bragging about how she defeated Rhea Ripley, and then Nikki Cross challenges her to a match at Extreme Rules. Sasha will accept. The match then becomes the last women standing match. They then have their match. The outcome of the match is when Nikki Cross becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion. The Viking Raiders will lose the SmackDown Tag Team titles to Steven Alex at WrestleMania. Then at Backlash, Steven Alex is going to retain the rematch. The Brothers of Destruction will reunite and challenge them for a match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles at Extreme Rules, and a Tag Team Extreme Rules match. To win, the Brothers of Destruction will pick up the win, and the Brothers of Destruction will have one last title reign together. Apollo Crews retains the IC title over King Kong Buddy at Mania. Then once Backlash comes, King Kong Buddy wins the title from Apollo Crews. Then Luke Skywalker challenges King Kong Buddy for a match at Extreme Rules for the title. Luke Skywalker picks up the win. And my last part of the storyline. Harry Potter wins the Exploding Barbed Wire death match over Big Van Vader at WrestleMania. Then Vader is sidelined with an injury for 3 months. Harry brags about how he defeated Vader in the match and sidelined him. Once he returns, he challenged him for a rematch at SummerSlam in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Harry accepts, and once the match happens, Vader wins. Thank you all for having listened to my part of the fantasy booking. That's it.
As in me.
All right, Lucas, go ahead.
All right, storyline time. All right, so let me explain some of these matches. All right, I'm not gonna go into detail on these matches. So we're gonna start off with Nexus and WF. Now, Nexus and recently just reunited, and they wanted to be the best faction. So they start bragging because they beat all these other tag teams, but with that, except for LAX, which they did lose to LAX, but they still brag about being their tag teams, but like that. But out comes returning NWO, and this is not, but it's not Hogan that's winning the faction. It's Triple H and Shawn Michaels that winning the faction. It's Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. And they're like, you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And you haven't been being the best. You're not even close to the best. As Triple H said. And so, World Mirror comes out and they declared War Games. And the match happens. And we're going to lead the newcomers to win. So the Nexus beats NWO by Wade Barrett doing a fucking wasteland off top of the cell. Well, the cage, stuff like that. To Shawn Michaels for a table. So that match is over. So, the next one we're going to talk about is Freddy Krueger versus Jason Voorhees. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know that the movie wasn't the best. So we want to make it up for you guys. We want to make it up to a great, actually, movie. So we're making a cinematic death match. So, these two go at it for a long time. And the winner of that match will be Jason Voorhees. Because he decapitated Freddy Krueger. Just the same way he did in Freddy vs. Jason. But he threw his head into the fire. And if you've seen the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger doesn't like fire. He burnt like 3 times. So the 4th time he burned. So next up, we got Vampire versus Gangrel. Now, Gangrel is challenging anybody to a match. Out comes returning Vampiro. And if you remember Vampiro, he had a rivalry with Sting, and they have like a crazy rivalry, even though it's kind of cheesy. If you know, you know. But Vampiro challenges him to Gangrel to a first blood match. Gangrel beats Vampiro. Now, the one I want to get into the most is LAX versus Legado de Fantasma. So LAX is bragging about they just being the other tag team NWO. So, LAX challenged anybody to a street fight at NXT TakeOver Stand Deliver. And out comes Legado Fantasma. And they was like, yo, you think you're the best? You gotta challenge us. We're the top white stars. And so they had a match in the street fight. And a little older street fight. And LAX wins because Homicide did that Razor's Edge thing. I don't know what it's called. On the exposed wood. So that match is over, and they had a great match. Now, this is a little bit crazy. I'm going to do Rosemary versus Blackheart in the casket match. Now, Rosemary's been champion for almost a year now. And she has beaten everybody else except for Shotzi Blackheart. So Rosemary called anyone out. Except for the one she just beaten, which is Ember Moon. And so, Blackheart comes out, but she's not her usual self. Blackheart is more dark and basically demonic, as what happened. So she has changed a lot. Because, to beat Rosemary, you have to go all in. And she did Rosemary, if you remember from Sue Young, they did lose the casket and she burned in the casket. So, what we do here, we put Blackheart versus Rosemary in a casket match. The match happens, and Blackheart beats Rosemary for the new championship. So now, that's done with. Now, New Jack versus Bully Ray in a death match. Now, Bully Ray has called out anybody to some kind of death match. Out comes the craziest motherfucker alive, New Jack. And this man, if you know how New Jack is. This man is a real gangster. And Bully Ray is like, finally, it's about time you had this match. So they had this match at TakeOver New York. And, it's a little hometown advantage for Bully Ray. But they saw some New Jack as well. Because they usually do ECW in Philly or New York, I think. But, so, they had a match. So that White Jews, fire, and glass, and everything you imagine in a death match. The way it ends up, New Jack fools Bully Ray off a ceiling through a car. Ending up Bully Ray's career. And New Jack is your death match champion. We're making a hardcore championship. New Jack is the right person to win that title. Next up, Dakota Kai versus Ryleigh. Oh boy. Ryleigh, I'm sorry to do this to you. But okay, so Ryleigh has called out Dakota Kai for weeks and no answer. But one day person came out Raquel Gonzalez, and Raquel Gonzalez beat the shit out of Ryleigh. But Ryleigh keeps getting up, and he wants Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai finally comes out and is like, alright, I have enough for your bullshit. You want a match with me, you got it. And this match is going to be no holds barred. So the match happens for about 20 minutes in NXT TakeOver Phoenix. These two go at it and at it and at it. And so, Dakota Kai hits Ryleigh with her own knee brace. Because Ryleigh already been injured with a knee injury. And there's a Canadian destroyer through her table. 1, 2, close. Couldn't put it away. So Ryleigh tried to get up, and Dakota Kai went for the chiropractor. But it was countered into basically Deadeye. Payment's move. And then Ryleigh pulls out thumbtacks. And Dakota Kai gets chokeslammed on the thumbtacks. Ryleigh hits her finisher. I don't know what to call it. She won't know what her finisher is going to be. And Ryleigh beats Dakota Kai. But they both be out for months because their injuries they sustained. Now, Pete Dunne and Terry Funk. I'm going to leave this out there. Terry Funk is going to be the new North American Championship. after a brutal Falls Count Anywhere match. Pete Dunne just couldn't hang in there from Terry Funk. Now, Adam Cole and Samoa Joe. Adam Cole, has been accomplished a lot in NXT. Out comes the Samoa submission machine. And this man, if you know how crazy he is, you know how crazy he is. So, this is a dream match for two of these guys. So, for weeks, Samoa Joe's been out there Undisputed Era. Well, technically, formerly Undisputed Era, like Bobby Fish and Kyle Ryleigh, Roderick Strong. They beat him all. Then, Adam Cole forms the Kingdom again. And Samoa Joe has a little tag team with, let's do this. He's going to have a tag team with, he's going to bring in, for one night, for a couple months only, he's going to bring in Kurt Angle and Sting. So basically it's a fortune. And they have a tag team match, a 6-man tag team match, and the fortune beats the Kingdom. So Samoa Joe and Adam Cole have the match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Whatever. New York, Brooklyn, whatever. Anyways. Adam Cole and Samoa Joe have won a hell of a match. One of the best matches of the night. Maybe the best match of the year. So, and in the match, Adam Cole go for a Panama Sunrise. But it was countered into a Muscle Buster. 1, 2, 3, Samoa Joe beats Adam Cole. Now, CM Punk versus Sami Callihan. If you don't know Sami Callihan, this man is crazy. See his match with Pentagon, Eddie Edwards. Should I go on and on? So, CM Punk is called out to anybody who challenged him. And one night another better compared to Sami Callihan. So, they have an Extreme Rules match. And Sami Callihan is a power driver for people through tables. So, Sami Callihan power drive AJ Lee through a table. So, that went way well for CM Punk. So, CM Punk's already pissed off already. And I drop another pipe bomb on Sami Callihan by the way he feels. They have a match at NXT TakeOver Charlotte at the end of November. And these two have an Extreme Rules match. And these two beat the hell out of each other. Until Sami Callihan hits CM Punk with a glass to the head. And it hits him in the throat as well. So basically he split his throat too. And then Sami Callihan does a power driver through light tubes. So, 1, 2, 3, Sami Callihan is your new champion. And that is my storylines.
All right. So why?
Guys, sorry to say this, but I'm gonna be doing this a little bit in the dark, Lucas. Jason, is that okay? Because it's just my eyes are hurting a little while.
You're good.
You're all good. Go ahead and complete your storylines.
Okay. Hold on. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Monday Night Raw. We are live here on Skype, the Thunderdome, wherever you want to call it. All right. Okay, how do I begin this off? Okay, one here on Monday Night Raw. AJ Styles comes into the ring along with his bodyguard, Omos, running his mouth, saying, well, I know that maybe my times have been a little dry. Maybe I haven't been to the title picture, but I've beaten anybody on Monday Night Raw because, I've competed throughout the world. I've competed in the Indies. I've competed in Ring of Honor, TNA, New Japan, anything. I've been WWE champion and I've been hitting the Grand Slam. But there's nobody or no superstar who's done stuff in my career like what I've done. So, Moss, do you think anybody or any pussbag back there thinks that they're gonna fight me? And then what do you hear? Let me get my and then this theme hits. AJ, I know that you've been you're out here yapping every week, saying that you've traveled the best, There is some superstars here you haven't beat, but I know me and you haven't been in the ring before. And this is something exciting for me because you are actually one of the superstars that I've been a big fan of. But maybe you haven't. But AJ, you're just going to stand around. But maybe for me and you, I think maybe for me, I know that I have been on Monday Night Raw since earlier this year. And I know me and Bad Bunny went through a long ride together. But, I'm moving on and I'm merely keeping myself in my career. I'm really updating myself in my career. So, AJ, instead of just sitting back and waiting, how about me and you have a one-on-one match? Since Money in the Bank is over with, how about at SummerSlam? We will go one-on-one and prove who's the world. And knowing, AJ, you got kids and stuff. Literally, you walked by, you say that you have the balls to do shit. Well, I'm going to tell you something. The way you walked out of your match last week, when you had your match last week, AJ, against, what's his face? You had Lucas left. Or never mind. When you had your match against Mansoor last week, what was that? You looked like you had your balls cut. So that moves on to AJ Styles and Damien Priest, leading through a ferocious build up to SummerSlam. As AJ Styles was talking so much shit about Damien Priest to AJ's family, Priest's family. Literally, Priest's family could not stand AJ for much longer. So thankfully in SummerSlam, they were able to have the collision that they would have from Damien Priest throwing a ferocious lariat across AJ Styles across the ring. And thankfully, Damien Priest was able to aim a warm comeback through a hip toss to a clothesline to an elbow. Then Damien Priest was able to hit through a slam AJ across the steel steps. And we've never seen AJ do a phenomenal forearm from the barricade onto Priest. And thankfully, Omos was able to get into the match as Damien Priest was about to aim his finisher until Omos caught him and AJ Styles was able to roll him into a calf cruncher. And then Damien Priest did this. And AJ Styles aims the dub, and therefore AJ Styles was able to move on victorious as Damien Priest was able to fail to victory. Next up, Drew McIntyre versus Reddick Moss. One night on Monday Night Raw, Drew McIntyre literally had no one to face. There was no opponents there for him. So he decided for himself, who am I going to have? As Drew McIntyre comes into the ring saying, well, I know that I'm here having anybody as my opponent, but who from Raw am I going to face now? Reddick Moss, I'm not saying. I know Raw Underground has went out of business, but I know that I definitely need some new opportunities for myself. So my name is Reddick Moss McIntyre, and I've beaten Ricochet in a match. I'm a former 24/7 champion. I know you're a former WWE champion, and the funny part is you're not even the champion anymore. and Bobby Lashley made an upset at you at WrestleMania. But just know for this fact, for me, I want to see my ass beat you. So, you know what? If you're just going to run your mouth, maybe me and you will have a match tonight. So what happens? Moss and McIntyre end up having a match tonight. No later than that. What happens? Surprisingly, Drew McIntyre surprisingly gets disqualified as he kept stomping Moss into the corner. And then, therefore, over 2 months went by. There was no use. Reddick Moss was using a hot winning streak as he was able to defeat stars like Shelton Benjamin, the Hurricane, Riddle, even Drake Maverick, and even Damien Priest. So, what happens now? Reddick Moss wants to be known as the newest rising star of Monday Night Raw. So Reddick Moss comes backstage saying, you know what? I've made so many wins lately. I know, but I've been on the hot streak. But as after Drew McIntyre challenges me at SummerSlam, all the fans that night are going to be saying my name, and I'm going to be the name remembered as Reddick Moss. So McIntyre and Moss have a build-up to SummerSlam. So McIntyre and Moss have their match, and sadly, as a Claymore kick from Moss kicking out of it, as they make a huge battle, a manly battle across the ring, from a strangled lockup up to body slams. The match was able to end as Drew McIntyre in victorious over Reddick Moss, but thankfully Reddick Moss still had his chances. The Hurricane will be battling Angel Garza. So backstage, as the Hurricane will be known as the superhero of Monday Night Raw. As Hurricane jumps off the ambulance truck and then was able to be distracted, Garza was able to make a roll up from there, and the referee was able to hit 1, 2, 3 at the backstage area. Then Angel Garza was able to run off and run into the bombshell of Toni Storm, Mandy Rose, Lana, and Dana Brooke. And he was able to offer them a flower. And what happens now? They reject it, and they all kick Garza to the balls. Garza looked like he didn't even have his balls till the next day. Then Garza was able to make it to the bar as he saw Drake Maverick caught cheating on Renee Michelle for the Fabulous Moolah. Womp. So what happens? Drake Maverick was drunk at the bar, and Drake Maverick hits a roll-up onto Angel Garza, and Drake Maverick was able to regain the 24/7 championship after 2 years. 2 years. So Drake Maverick was able to be on the 24/7 title picture, and then was able to run to the hotel with the flowers on the bed, and him and Renee Michelle was there until the Hurricane lands from the ceiling onto Maverick, and there was able to be a 1, 2, 3. Then Hurricane regains the title. The next day, all three men, Angel Garza was there hiding at the strip club, and the Hurricane was able to find tracks, and the Hurricane thought there was danger at the strip club, hearing all that noise. So it says, "Citizens at the strip club, the Hurricane's here to make you safe." So what happens? Angel Garza has a glass of wine, smashes it onto the Hurricane. And then Garza hits 1, 2, 3. Maverick rolls over at the strip club with his underwear on. 1, 2, 3. And Maverick was able to be hired as a stripper to get money made, so that way he was able to regain the title. Sheamus versus Keith Lee versus Jinder Mahal. All right. Sheamus. Sheamus was the okay. So Sheamus has a carrying United States title reign, as Sheamus was able to keep himself mindseted. But until Keith Lee and Jinder Mahal argue to Sheamus, saying, as me and Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are trying to figure out, with Keith Lee and Jinder Mahal begging so badly for a United States title match, we are just trying to figure out who deserves that title match more. So you know what? We're going to have a match here. We're going to leave Jinder Mahal out of this since Jinder Mahal has been very picky about it. We're going to have a good match here. Let's have a match with Keith Lee versus, let's do Keith Lee versus John Morrison. So if Keith Lee wins, he can have that match with Sheamus for the U.S. title next week. So what happens? Keith Lee makes the win, challenges Sheamus next week on Monday Night Raw. So next week for the U.S. title, Jinder Mahal comes in with a steel chair, whacks Keith Lee with it. And Shanky and Veer were able to help Jinder Mahal alongside his way. So, as Keith Lee was thankfully, the following next week, Jinder Mahal was able to have a match against Sheamus, and then Keith Lee dominates that. Even from now, me and Adam Pearce are like to ourselves, this stuff is really getting out of hand. So you know what we're going to do? Knowing how dominant Keith Lee is, we'll have him in a match against Jinder Mahal's bodyguard, Shanky. You know, we'll have Keith Lee and Sheamus versus Shanky and Veer in a tag team match. And we'll see how this goes then. What happens? Sheamus fucks over Keith Lee, and Shanky and Veer were able to make a victory. Since this triple threat matches went on and on and on, we'll have another match next week. We'll have Sheamus versus Jinder Mahal in a no disqualification match. Sheamus made the win, and you know what? Since them two are well deserved, and since you know what, we'll have Keith Lee versus Jinder Mahal in a no disqualification match, and the winner will get a match against Sheamus at SummerSlam. So Keith Lee and Jinder Mahal brawl out until the match was able to be no contest, as Shanky and Veer were able to come out and beat the living shit out of Keith Lee, and the match ended in no contest, as the announce tables was tipped over and thumbtacks were spreaded everywhere. So what happened? Me and Adam Pearce made the decision that we would make the match a triple threat match. So Keith Lee was able to dominate and overcome the match by suplexing both men. And Sheamus was able to make it a way around as well. And Jinder Mahal, surprisingly, after Sheamus bro kicks Keith Lee over the barricade, Sheamus returns to the ring. Jinder Mahal hits the Colossus. 1, 2, 3. We have a new United States champion, Jinder Mahal. All right. After weeks upon weeks, Mustafa Ali has been super down out of his mind ever since Retribution was failed. So Mustafa Ali had nothing to do until he ran into R-Truth, and R-Truth said, "Man, I think you just walked over and kicked little Jimmy." You know what? I really don't. Knowing how much I really don't care. I really don't care about your stupid imaginary friends. So I don't know why you're in my face, and I don't know why you have to annoy me all the goddamn time, because no one gives a hell about you. I don't even care that you have acrophobia, that you're scared of heights. I don't care. As dumb as you are, leave me alone. So what happens? R-Truth says, "Well, I don't mean to bother you, but I think little Jimmy went missing again. Do you think you could help me find little Jimmy?" So Mustafa Ali offers him hand, like, "I will help you find your imaginary friend if you offer me one thing. And that is to not bother me ever again." So them two end up having a match on Monday Night Raw. and R-Truth ended up beating him, and Mustafa Ali was embarrassed in front of his fans. And what happens after then? Knowing R-Truth chanting, "What's up, what's up?" and R-Truth showing how much everyone loves him, dog. After the match, Mustafa Ali had an embarrassing loss. R-Truth ends up running away, and then Brock Lesnar comes into the ring and F5s and take Ali's ass to Suplex City. After one night of Miz having a shoot interview on Miz TV, Miz runs into Riddle backstage and says, "Bro, man, you're the Hollywood A-lister, bro. You know, you're the most must-see superstar of our sports entertainment. But, bro, you know, how did you get a hot-ass French-Canadian wife and 2 beautiful kids, bro? Have you ever, and you know I got the scooter working? I wonder if they have any of those around your area, bro. Because I know they don't even have those in Japan. But, bro, I'm going to tell you. Wow, my head hurts. But as of Riddle and The Miz were able to have some debatable things, thankfully, the next week after Riddle had a match against Miz, a skull-crushing finale hit, and Maurice ended up showing up that night and slapping the living shit out of Riddle. And Riddle was just wanting to give her an offer. So, what do we see then? Riddle decides to go backstage and find a tag team partner. He says, "Bro," as Riddle runs into Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan backstage, and Riddle was like to himself, "Yo, bro, you see that? Maurice can't leave a slap like me like that." And the Riott Squad agreed that Riddle did not deserve that. So Riddle comes in and says, "You know what? Maybe one of you tonight, as I got my mixed tag team match, maybe one of you, instead of the Riott Squad tonight, we can hit the music, bro. We can call ourselves the Bro Squad. The Riott Bro Squad, bro." So what we have? We have Riddle teaming up with my favorite Liv Morgan, taking on The Miz and Maurice. So what happens? The Miz and Maurice win, and Liv Morgan just walks away. So the match ends up at SummerSlam, and The Miz says, "Well, bro, I know after weeks going, you're just jealous of my Hollywood career and all the earnings I've had over the years, knowing that I've beaten John Cena at the main event of WrestleMania 27. As you see to myself, there's going to be one thing. And at SummerSlam, just know that you can be jealous because I'm The Miz and I'm awesome." So The Miz and Riddle end up having a match. So at the ending of the fight, Riddle tries to aim to the flying bro. Nobody home. Skull crushing finale. 1, 2, 3. Alright. After the Rey and Dominic Mysterio were able to make a win over AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team Championships, they ended up having a match against Shanky and Veer for the Raw Tag Team Championships at Money in the Bank. So the night after Money in the Bank, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio ended up in an 8-man tag team match, taking on Shanky, Veer, Elias, and Jackson Ryker. Even though Rey Mysterio and Jackson Ryker were able to have a match, Jackson Ryker and Elias were able to have a match against Rey and Dominic beforehand. So who ends up being Rey and Dominic's tag team partners? The debut of Drolix and Chuck Lennox, Black Wall Street. After a big victory, Drolix and Chuck Lennox decide for themselves that they're just going to attack Ray and Dominic there. And they decide backstage and like, wow, what a shocking turn. We just seen the debut of Black Wall Street on Monday Night Raw. Drolix, what do you have to say for yourself now that you attacked Ray and Dominic Mysterio? Well, you can go on telling all night because you should know for me and Chuck, we ain't here. We don't trust nobody around here. And for us, we will be taking them tag titles. We'll be taking them to MCW Pro Wrestling, showing that we fucked them up. And just know, all you gotta do for ourselves, just know for ourselves, just imagine this. They should just imagine that they could get pussy for dinner, or they can imagine getting their dick sucked. But honestly, I'm going to tell you, all you got to do, Braxton, jerk off and smoke weed. I knew it!
That was
So
going to come
Drolix
up here.
comes on running his mouth saying, well, just know, if you want me to have, whoever you're going to have me, if you're going to get up in my face like that. So literally, Shelton Benjamin, Mansoor comes into Drolix saying this. Wow, you're just too dangerous to even be around. I don't even know if I can even be around you. I know I'm not going to jerk off and smoke weed. But you're not going to hurt me right now, okay? Well, if you think so, because literally if you want to die, I can literally go right here and I can kill you right now. And Mansoor runs off. So, as them two are the most dominant tag team on the East Coast, we were able to show for ourselves that if anyone fucks with Drolix, he'll fuck him up. And then, thankfully, at SummerSlam, the tag team title match was on its way. And Ray and Dominic, Ray wants to do this for his family. And then, what happens then? I decided that I would interfere in the match, and therefore, I helped Black Wall Street become the new Raw Tag Team Champions. And they were able to claim victorious after a long time came. After joking all this fucking weed. Yeah, but as Drolix would say, all that fiend shit was garbage.
A little bit.
Yeah. That's why it's best to watch matches anything before Attitude Era. That's what he would recommend. Bianca Bella versus Asuka versus Charlotte Blair. Here comes Charlotte Flair coming out begging for another rematch for the title. As even though we are done handing Charlotte everything for the title, Charlotte might have to have, if Charlotte's going to get another title match, she has to defeat Toni Storm. She has to defeat the Riot Squad in a handicap match. So what happens? She does. We just don't think that's enough. Asuka deserves this match as well. Bianca Belair says, Charlotte has been given too many opportunities. Charlotte has had too much. I know it's time for a new fresh star like me, as I've been in this business up to the main roster for a year. And I know that I can solve the piece of the puzzle as I'm carrying with the Raw Women's title. So, as I will be picking as this best stipulation for this match, I think if Asuka and Charlotte both want their hands on the title, they should get their hands and get it as I want to put my title on the line in a triple threat ladder match. As Bianca Belair was able to have a handicap match against Lana and Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, knowing how strong, as she's the fastest, strongest, quickest, dominest, craziest, insanest women's champion you know. As she's the EST of WWE, Bianca Belair shows here she knows who it's known to be a true superstar. Asuka comes across with her amazing green paint on her face. And Asuka knows that she deserves. Is that Bianca Bella wants Asuka to have a title match against her, as that leads to the build-up of SummerSlam. So Bianca Belair and Asuka and Charlotte were able to have their triple threat match. And Charlotte says, "Well, thankfully, I was able to have my match because I deserve it, as I'm breaking Daddy's record. Bow down to the Queen." Woo! So what happens? We have a crazy dominant triple threat match. As thankfully, as the end of the as ladders were getting hit to each other everywhere, and Asuka was able to make a furious moment. So what happens after when the match gets to the end? Asuka's laid out with the announce table covered over her, and then Bianca Belair was able to claim victorious, still the Raw Women's Champion. So Bianca Belair was there, and then what happens? Toni Storm ends up becoming the leader of the Blonde Bombshell, as her, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, and Lana end up coming out and beating the shit out of Bianca Belair and slamming the steel steps across her back. And even though they were able to destruct Asuka and Charlotte Flair as well, and Toni Storm looked like she was next in line to punch the ticket for the Raw Women's title. After Randy Orton for a while now has been carrying Monday Night Raw to where it's been, he wants to decide that he wants a challenging opponent. So what happens after Randy Orton makes a dub onto Drew McIntyre, hits the RKO, Brock Lesnar randomly decides to come out and give him an F5. And Brock Lesnar says, "Some bitch, how about, if you want to be too much of a pussy, how about me and you end up having a one-on-one match? You know, I put Paul Heyman out of my ass. I don't need Paul Heyman. He failed working for me. So you know what? I think me and you need to have it." For the next 2 weeks, Randy Orton never even showed up on Monday Night Raw. So Brock Lesnar tries to figure out where Randy Orton is, and people say he's in the building. So Brock Lesnar, what does he do? One of the most fucked up things he never thought he would do. Kick the door down in the women's locker room, thinking Randy Orton would be hiding in there somehow. And Brock Lesnar says, "I don't care if I'm in here or not. Have you all seen Randy Orton or try to find his ass? Because or not, you better find out before I do." And then Randy Orton comes from behind, hits an RKO out of nowhere in the locker room, and takes off. And leaves Lesnar out cold, and Randy Orton says, "Well, I know that I'm the legend killer. You know, I've dominated so many legends in time. I've done one of the most dirtiest tricks, and I don't even care if I RKO'd my own daddy. I don't care if I RKO'd someone else's daddy. But just know, Brock, you may have fucked me up. You know, me and you ended up having a no contest win at SummerSlam 2016. But you know what? We're going to end up having a winner in this fight. As I'm going to slither, this match will be a no-holds-barred match." So what happens? The match ends up at SummerSlam, as they will be using having so much violent tools for themselves, and therefore we were able to have it go on and on and on. But Randy Orton still wants that big competition and taste for himself. Randy Orton ends up trying to pull Brock Lesnar's ear, even try everything to make Brock Lesnar go down, from an RKO to a punt kick to an F5. Randy Orton, the match was still able to go on, as Randy Orton has a chair with Brock Lesnar's face laid on top of it. Randy Orton gets another chair, slams that chair across that back of that head. Brock Lesnar still kicks out. So, what happens? Randy Orton tries to aim another chair shot. Failed. F5. It's over. Or maybe not. Orton kicked out. Hits an RKO, and Randy Orton ends up defeating Brock Lesnar as them voices hear in his head. As Randy Orton is the face of the WWE, Brock Lesnar ends up getting up and just laying him down, just dominating to the ground, saying, just punching him to the ground. Even you hear Michael Cole sitting outside saying, "Leave him alone. He's dead." Fans are crying out of their mind. Orton's family's crying out of their mind. Randy Orton just laying there out cold, paralyzed to his life, blood dripping out of his head. Brock Lesnar has so much blood coming down his hands. Literally, fans just crying for themselves, saying, "Leave the guy the fuck alone." And it's no use. Randy Orton was out to be injured. After Edge was able to have a failed win for the world title at WrestleMania, Edge's attitude was starting to change. Edge was even to be a special guest at Alexa's Playground, even though Edge never said a word. God, I don't know if I can finish this up, but after night of Alexa's Playground, Edge never said a word, and Alexa Bliss even challenged Edge at Hell in a Cell. But the match ended up in no contest as Lily was able to bite Edge in the face. That is one dangerous ass doll. And then Edge ends up ripping the doll's head in half, as Lily does not like him. As Edge's behavior starts to change and Edge never smiled ever again, Edge even said to himself, "I don't even give a damn. I know that my attitude has started to change. Just know." You could call it fate or reality. The dark cloud was able to strike my brain again. But I have that feeling the fiend is right, has his bugs crawling up my neck. Or maybe he's crawling up my neck. Who knows? But just know, if Alexa has something up her sleeve, just know that I want to take the Fiend's ass at SummerSlam. I know I'm not smiling ever again, but just know, I want every bite of the Fiend. I want to rip that man's head off. I want that man to disappear in my life because I've wanted my fans on that guy ever since I became cleared to be back in the business. And as for me, I'm the good-looking man with the golden locks. I made so many accomplishments for myself. And what has the Fiend accomplished ever since being back? Nothing. So as of SummerSlam, Edge failed to beat the Fiend. And then Alexa Bliss was able to melt into the floor. And then what happens now? Edge approaches to Alexa saying, "I may have failed to beat the Fiend, but hopefully maybe you or your doll could do something about it. Or you can just keep going in my face and just try to annoy every bone in my body or every drip of blood in my vein." So what happens? Alexa Bliss ends up kissing Edge, and Edge passes out and faints. And that leads to Edge turning on the WWE Universe and having a massive heel turn and seeing what Edge has next for himself. Now, to the main rivalry of the night. It will be hold on.
coming up.
Jason.
You already know, Bobby Lashley.
All right, after a long while, Bobby Lashley has a huge dominant title reign in his hands. MVP shows to the world of Bobby Lashley who he really is. And even though Bobby Lashley and MVP were able to have themselves a security backup partner and one of the vice presidents of the Hurt Business, and that is Dio Madden. After a while, Bobby Lashley was able to show the world he was able to dominate the entire Raw roster after carrying it for so long. Even bringing the woman along with him himself. And as that was able to continue, Jeff Hardy was able to come to himself and say, hey, Bobby, I know that I may have not had the best time in my life lately in my career. I know that I've been wrestling for almost 30 years. But I think it's damn time for me. I know I made a lot of mistakes in my life. And I was able to overcome them in some way. And I was able to overcome myself in some way with my career. And that is for me to have one last chance with the WWE Championship. Oh! You think you're good enough to take the title off the Almighty? Jeff, man, look at you. You failed to beat the Fiend at WrestleMania. You beat the Fiend at WrestleMania. You had that Fiend fever earlier this year. You have lost matches. Man, Jeff, you want the Almighty at SummerSlam? We'll think about that. But thankfully, Jeff Hardy was able to make was able to claim victorious as he was able to defeat Dio Madden. So at the Almighty was able to put him in a hurt lock after the match. And after Bobby Lashley was able to beat Keith Lee in a match, Jeff Hardy comes into a steel chair trying to attack Bobby Lashley, begging for that fight. And no, that Jeff Hardy was able to say to himself, you know, I know these fans want me to carry that title one last time. That's why after SummerSlam, I know Lashley, I know you're in there, man. You can bring all them hot ladies with you all you want, man. MVP, as you guys will be coming. For me, I know that SummerSlam, I knew Armageddon 2008, I was able to be the underdog in my fight. But I know SummerSlam, I can do the same thing. As the fans will be chanting my name, Hardy, 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 Hardy. Yes, as you guys, after SummerSlam, you guys will fade away and classify yourself as obsolete.
Obsolete!
Obsolete!
Yes. You know what? You proved to yourself lately, Jeff. If you're really gonna put your career on the line, and the Almighty don't even have anybody to face, you're on. So what do we do? What was going on? Was the Fiend coming in my room or something, or the lights, or what? I don't know. Okay. So SummerSlam, here it comes. Here we go. Both entrance music hits, and then Jeff Hardy was able to have the time for his life. So Jeff Hardy and Bobby Lashley were able to have a blowout battle. MVP ends up trying to put Lashley's foot on the rope after Jeff Hardy hits a reverse of fate. The referee ends up seeing it, and what does the referee do? Go! MVP and Dio Madden. So the match ends up continuing after Bobby Lashley spears Hardy through the barricade. Jeff Hardy still wasn't giving up. Jeff Hardy knew he had to make his father and mother in heaven proud, his brother Matt, even his close friends. But just know, Jeff Hardy was not giving up that fight, knowing how much he got his ass kicked. And then, what happens now? Bobby Lashley tries to hit the Hurt Lock on the top rope. Jeff Hardy hits the reversal. Elbow hit. Elbow hit. Elbow hit. Bobby Lashley gets dizzy. Slips off the ring. Swanton bomb. Jeff Hardy wins it, hits it. And what happens? 1, 2, 3. New WWE champion, Jeff Hardy. After all these years, Jeff Hardy was able to become WWE champion once again. And Jeff Hardy was able to become WWE champion for the rest of the year, surprisingly, until he dropped it at the Rumble the following year. And thankfully, Jeff Hardy was able to do one more thing that he needed to do before he retired. And thankfully, he was able to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, being WWE World Champion more than one time. Matt even got to come backstage and give his own brother a hug. Jeff Hardy was able to celebrate with his wife and his 2 daughters, even his closest friends like the Hurricane and Shannon Moore. And thankfully, Jeff's mom and dad in heaven were able to have a smile on their face to watch their son become champion again.
Great. Yep.
Anything else to say, Jason?
Wow, quite a story there. So, I guess that's the end for fantasy booking for today.
Yep.
What can I say except it's outros time?
Okay.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Crash and Burn Wrestling Podcast, where we did some fantasy booking. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope everyone enjoys AEW's next pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, coming up tomorrow night at the time of recording. Yeah, that's it, except for subscribe to the Crash and Burn Wrestling Podcast and subscribe to the Loudest Podcast and all music, the Moshcast, where you can catch us here there as well. Yeah, stay tuned for more predictions, reviews, fantasy bookings, interviews, album reviews, EP reviews on both of our fabulous podcasts. Keep moshing, keep crashing and burning, and take care, everybody. Enjoy Double or Nothing, and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Bye.
Yeah.
Crash and burn!